Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first edition of the CertiK Product Spotlight. I'm Aaron Leibowitz. I'm a product marketing manager at CertiK, and today I have with me Kayvon Hosseini. Kayvon, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Hey, everyone. My name is Kayvon. I'm a product manager at CertiK. I work on our security leaderboard as well as Skynet, which is our real-time monitoring tool.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So today in the Product Spotlight series, Product Insight series, you're going to see Kayvon and I walk through the Skynet console. You're going to see us walk through a specific project. We're going to go through top to bottom of the page, all of the data that's available to you, show you guys how you can use this to help you DYOR, learn more about projects, and use on-chain monitoring. Do you want to go ahead and bring that up, Kayvon?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about Sandbox Games. Sandbox is a pretty well-known metaverse project. They've gotten a lot of press recently about people purchasing metaverse real estate in their protocol. I figured it would be a good idea to start with them as they've been audited multiple times as well as have Skynet Live. So when you land on the CertiK.com page, you're going to go to this project of your choice, in this case Sandbox, and this is what you'll see. Why don't you go ahead and click into that market cap data a little bit just so we can see the other tab there, and maybe tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
Yeah, sure. So Sandbox is currently actually ranked number 1 on our security leaderboard. On the market cap tab, you can see for the last about 30 days the changes in Sandbox's total market cap. So we have that data kind of feeding live on chain. On the security score side, you're able to see the real-time security score for Sandbox, and this is enabled by Skynet. So in real time, you're able to see how the score is changing over time. You can see here on December 4th, there's a slight dip of the score, but otherwise it's been pretty healthy. And we can get into a little bit more detail about what that score entails and how it's calculated in real time.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Why don't we put a pin in that, and we'll come back to how the security score is calculated as we continue down.
Great.
So scrolling down here, you guys can see the audit history. If you click on the view PDF on the right side, you can see the full audit report. They've actually had 4 audits with us. So you can click through each of the different audits. There'll be different scopes, different smart contracts involved in the different audits, so that you can really see what each audit focused on and what it covered and what it found. Why don't we continue down, dive into why we're here today, Skynet. Kayvon, you want to start by giving us a little overview of sort of what we're seeing here with this graph on the left and the security primitives on the right?
Yeah, definitely. So Skynet, again, it's our real-time monitoring tool. It does on-chain monitoring of, in this case, Sandbox's smart contracts. And the security score is really a factor of 6 security primitives. So these security primitives that you see here are also all kind of calculated and weighted to give that overall security score. So running through each of the scores, first one is static analysis. So this is on-chain kind of scanning of the code. We built out some really cool tooling in CertiK, and every time that we integrate Skynet with a contract, we continually monitor the contract code and we update our database of known and unknown vulnerabilities, so that the audit itself is just kind of a snapshot of the code in time. But with this static analysis tool, we're able to kind of real-time monitor and make sure that we're keeping the scanning kind of up to date and make sure that the contracts are up to date. So in Sandbox's case, perfect score, 100% on the static analysis tool. Going down, we have on-chain monitoring. On-chain monitoring essentially kind of tracks all of the transaction activity on-chain related to this project, just to make sure that everything is healthy, everything is kind of clean, all the transactions are sort of working well, and we don't detect any bugs on chain. That's doing well at an 88 right now. The third primitive is around social sentiment. So we're kind of monitoring in real time what's the chatter mostly around Twitter about this project, how is their social profiles doing, and then a little bit more about their growth in social sentiment, both on a positive side, but also could be on a negative side as well. The fourth factor here is going to be governance on autonomy. So this is around centralization, looking at like the different privileged functions within the smart contract, and then also looking at like what is the activity of these privileged functions. Sometimes the project teams themselves have control over being able to do certain things with the contract. So that's kind of where this tab really looks into. The fifth tab is going to be around market volatility. So looking at a lot of different factors, not just the price itself, but trading volume, liquidity, and then the depth of the order books. And then the final tab here is going to be around safety assessment, which is our multi-factor safety evaluation. This is done every time a project gets onboarded onto Skynet.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
That overview is fantastic. And I do want to mention one of the things there. We're going to dive into each of these further below. But that governance and autonomy, the privileged transactions, that's a really important tab for you guys to look into, as looking for privileged operations can be, calling contracts that move liquidity or underpin the sort of different factors. Let's say they have a time lock on their liquidity. Calling that transaction would be under the governance and autonomy tab. You would be able to actually see in real time, hey, this time lock transaction has actually been called. So in 48 hours, whoever called it will have the ability to remove liquidity or do whatever. This can help keep you guys safe. So why don't we continue down and sort of dive into these tabs further?
Sure. So here we'll start with the Oracle tab.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that Skynet works is that it's a bit of a decentralized calculation method. So we have a number of different nodes that are each have their own methodology in terms of how they want to weigh our different factors and come up with the security score. And this is all done through the Shentu chain, which is owned and operated by CertiK. So each of these nodes calculates the security score and kind of feeds it in real time. And that score is delivered through our security oracle, which is kind of why this tab is known as the Oracle tab. So moving over, we can look at the safety tab. So as I mentioned, this is a multi-factor safety evaluation every time a client gets onboarded onto Skynet. So we look at a lot of different factors here, including does the project have any bug bounties? How reputable is the project? How actively are they maintaining the code? How well is it documented? So on and so forth. And you can kind of see each of those individual areas broken down here on the left-hand side under the safety analysis. Moving on, again, as I mentioned, the market tab, so you can assess like what is the market volatility of this project, how is the trading volume looking at, what exchanges is it listed on, what is the depth of the liquidity on those exchanges. The next tab is
super useful, by the way, looking at depth of liquidity when you're looking to transact. If there's low liquidity, you're going to be paying high fees and you're going to have trouble getting in and out of a token. That data can be super useful for you guys if you're looking to do any swaps, especially on dexes.
Absolutely. Yeah, the next tab you did call out, Aaron. This is actually super cool. So on the left-hand side, you're able to see what are the privileged addresses that are associated with this project. In this case, for Sandbox, we have two that are both the deployer address. And then within those addresses, what are some privileged functions that we've discovered? So you can kind of see like a whole list of those here. And then on the right-hand side, we're able to see in real time what are the activities that are being performed by these privileged functions. So in Sandbox's case, the last time these privileged functions were called were a little bit over a year ago. So we haven't seen kind of any sort of centralized movements recently, but you're able to see all of that in real time. Sort of click on the transactions and then see a little bit more detail on Etherscan to DYOR, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
So moving on, our second to last tab here is going to be around monitoring. As I mentioned, you can kind of see the transaction activity over time, the number of events that are emitted over time, which addresses have the most amount of calls or events sort of taking place on them. And then the final tab, which is actually my favorite tab, is around social sentiment. So what we're doing with social sentiment is we're feeding all of this data specifically from Twitter in this case. And on the left-hand side, we're able to assess, based off what types of keywords are being mentioned on Twitter about this project. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? So in Sandbox's case, about 97% of the data that we're being fed, we believe, is non-negative recognition. Only about 2 to 3% of that is actual negative activity. And on the bottom over here, we're able to see, what are some keywords that are associated with this project that are often being mentioned. So obviously metaverse is a big one, right? Meta, everything associated with NFT and gaming, some additional projects that are tangentially associated, like Mana, for example, also kind of in that category of gaming. Mm-hmm. And then The coolest part about this, I think, is around the Twitter account activity. So you're able to toggle in real time and see, how is this project doing from a social front? So you can see that Sandbox obviously has kind of this surge in activity on the left-hand side, seeing the accumulated number of favorites over time to see, how that's projecting. Is it going parabolic? Is it sort of leveling out?
Mhm.
And then here you're able to see the number of daily tweets and mentions. So, how active is their social profiles? Like we can see kind of there was a lull over here in terms of like activity on the social profiles, but then it started spiking up, as December started getting kicked off. So we saw a lot of tweets and mentions about them. And then finally, we're able to see their number of followers. So, accumulating the followers over time, this line over here is going to be the total number of followers. And then the bar graph underneath it shows you the daily number of new followers that they're gaining. So quite a big surge around this end of November, beginning of December timeframe in terms of followers for Sandbox itself.
Yep. And before we move on here, I want to mention for anybody who's interested in reading a bit further about this or prefers written content, we've done a blog series breaking down each of these 6 tabs. It's going to be called the Skynet blog series. If you go to CertiK.com, go to resources in the blog tab, you'll be able to find each of them there. Really useful info as well. Now we get to continue down to what I'm most excited about, which is the insights. Well, we have quite a bit of new data actually that we've added to Skynet recently. So let's dive into what the insights are and the liquidity metrics.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll start with insights. So this is a lot of on-chain analytics. Like it's become popular over the years, mostly before it was accessible to the larger projects. So there was a lot of folks doing on-chain analytics for Bitcoin, Ethereum. And what we decided to do is bring that on-chain activity and make it accessible for all projects, right? So whether you're a multi-billion-dollar protocol or you're just, a brand new fork on BSC that's just getting started, you're able to see all of your real-time activity, and your community is able to go on and see all of that activity directly on chain, right? So here on the left-hand side, you're able to see the performance summary for the different metrics that we're looking at. And then on the right-hand side, you're able to see the charts that you can toggle over specific time frames. So on the upper left, we have the token price, of course, and this is the on-chain token price. So we try to get it as precise, as accurate as possible. You can toggle it over here to 30-day view just to give us a little bit more precision. On the right-hand side, we're able to see token transfers. So this is like the number of times that the tokens are transferred over a period. And that typically kind of indicates, how active is this token, how much is it switching hands, how much is it being used in this game, in the gaming context. And that kind of relates to the bottom left here, where we're able to see the number of daily transactions that are happening for certain tokens, and then ultimately the daily active users on the right-hand side as well. So yeah, some pretty cool on-chain insights.
Yep. That on-chain data couldn't be, well, it's scraped right from the source, it's taken straight from the chain. This is true numbers of daily active users, token transfers, and similar. Now scrolling down to the liquidity, which is what the part of this that I'm really excited for. This is the newest feature on Skynet, unless something new's come out that I don't know about, Kayvon. Is this still
Right.
the newest up-to-date feature?
It is, yeah. This is it's been a cool one that we've been working on for a while, so we're definitely excited to release it to everyone. So of course, decentralized exchanges have blown up in the last 2 years. It's becoming something that a lot of tokens, they're even bypassing the centralized exchange listing process, and they're going straight to dexes. So what we figured is, why not make that information accessible for everyone? And as we pull kind of on-chain analytics for these different types of projects, we can also provide this on-chain Dex liquidity so that you can understand, what is the liquidity health of your token? How much liquidity is there? Is it going to be hard to get in and out of a position, like you previously mentioned?
Yep.
Just a lot of really cool things that you can do with it. Yeah.
Absolutely. As Kayvon and I have both said now, when you're looking to transact, especially on the DEX, looking at that liquidity, the depth of liquidity, the changes over time in liquidity are all really useful features, because it can give you a lot of insight into what you're looking at, what you can expect to see. If you are, I'm only really do longer term stuff when I'm buying and holding tokens. I want to know that, hey, liquidity hasn't been dwindling over time. So if in the future I do want to get out of this project, I'll be able to. Those are the types of decisions that I use Skynet, specifically the liquidity metrics, to determine. So yeah, that is a top-down overview of Skynet. As I said before, please go check out the blog on this. There's a lot of written content for you guys to learn further about this, review what we talked about today, and catch us next time for another project review, another Skynet review. In the meantime, if you guys have not seen the security leaderboard showcase, each week I host a top DeFi project for a live AMA. Join us back here. Follow us on Twitter at CertiK.org in order to stay up to date with when those are. And I will catch you guys back here soon. Kayvon, a big thank you to you. This has been an awesome overview. I think everyone found it super insightful and helpful. So yeah.
Great.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.